You can get it. Marvelous.
Yo, what's good? Welcome back to the channel, y'all. And look, today, I think it's time we actually break the One Piece card game streaks. Fact, not an opinion. Look.
What? How? Hold on, bro. How?
For the past 2 or 3 months, I have been reporting the sim results, hoping one day we will actually get some proper ratings from the sim team, but it seems like the sim team is just too stupid to understand what the people want. We keep telling them that, you know, these stats are not right.
Nope.
These decks are not right.
Nope.
None of this shit is right. They can't even make the deck list right in the sim. So I will no longer be reporting anything on the sim when it comes to meta reports, meta watches, because all of that is fake news. It's literally all lies. We get no good, you know, feedback from them. Even the deck lists are trash. So, but over here we on some chill shit on the gang, you know what I mean, on some game type shit. So that being said, I think it's time for us to break the internet when it comes to this One Piece card game in the top 10 decks. So with all that being said, I've took it upon myself to create our own top 10 ranking system when it comes to the best deck in the One Piece card game. Fact, not opinion. Let me welcome you guys to a very powerful website, and this is called Limitless TCG. This website calculates every single tournament done, whether it be online, offline, a treasure cup shit, even might report locals at this point with how in-depth the stats and data. And that's the biggest thing about me. You know, I don't really want to go off win percentage, I don't want to go off none of this bullshit. I want hard data, and that's what this site does. Not only does it provide hard data, it actually has the most recent tournaments upcoming in the OP08.5 meta. Okay, it has the most recent tournaments that was just taking place with all the standings. It shows the players that have topped with a certain deck. It shows the percentage of which deck is doing the best in the OP08.5 meta, and it even has a point rank system. Yes.
What a time to be alive.
I know, on top of all of everything I just said, it even has a point rank system. You guys see it on the screen, whether it be a deck that's, you know, number 1, 2, top 4, top 8, 16, 32, all the way up until I think it's like 104 or 108. Every time a deck tops, depending on if it's an offline, online, regional treasure cup, it gets a point, and those points accumulate to tell you guys what are the top decks. And Limitless TCG actually does all this for us within this site. So we are going to be doing a real top 10 breakdown of the top 10 best decks in the meta. Oh yeah, and one more thing, when we're actually going over all of these top 10 decks I'm about to show you in the meta, this website actually brings up the total cost of every single meta deck with the card that we're actually looking at. So if you guys are, you know, used to me going into the sim and then putting those cards you see in the sim into TCG player, this is actually built in already for you. And once you get onto this site is actually amazing. It's shicey. We're actually going to have a real top 10 ranking, because everything else we've been seeing on the streets is bullshit. And without further ado, let's just go ahead and get straight into it, gang. Let's get it. So the 10th best deck of the format is Red Zoro. You heard me right, Red Zoro. Red Zoro is sitting at the 10th place ranking, sharing 8 points with a 0.92 win percentage, share percentage, really. It's not win percentage, share percentage. So this is the 10th best deck of the format. If we take a look here on the screen right now, this is the most recent topping deck list for Zoro, and this happened the 2nd November 2024 at Play TCG Online Treasure Cup. So this is the most recent topping Zoro list. So let's go ahead and just take a look at this here real quick. This is the most recent topping Zoro list, sitting at $115. Not bad at all. You really can't go wrong with that. Very cheap. This is actually a budget deck as well, but this is the list. We got the Rono Zoro. We have, these are the events. These look pretty normal. We have the 2 bad manners. The main thing of this deck is really just abusing these Tony Choppers. Your most expensive cards out of this deck is going to be this Tony Chopper from EBO1, just being able to have a blocker and an effect while attacking is actually quite based. Another card that's actually really shiesty is this card right here, is this Tony Chopper from OP08. This is one of the main cards that allows you to really abuse this zoo package, along with the hiking bear and any other type of, you know, animal type of characters in this whole entire deck. You usually clean up games with this Monkey D Dragon, just being an 8-drop, recycling Don, and also having Rush. This is what you're typically going to win games with. This is your blocker, just being able to have some board removal on the field whenever you really feel like it. To be honest with you, I don't really see any type of cost reduction in this deck at all. These two are 2 searchers, so I'm not sure why he opted out for the 4 Marco, but you know, it worked for him. And you also end up cleaning up the games with this 3-cost Zoro, always been in a staple since OP01. So this is the 10th best deck. If you guys do want to buy this deck, all you got to do is just click this link, takes you right here, add everything to cart. And now look at this, you have the whole entire deck inside your cart. So if you guys really just want to copy this deck key for key, all you got to do is press checkout. So this, like I said, this website's actually shiesty, gang. This website's actually shiesty. So this is the 10th best deck of the format. Let's go ahead and get straight into the 9th best deck of the format, gang. Let's get it. So the 9th best deck of the current OP08.5 format is Red Yellow Bello Betty. This is actually insane. I'm actually very surprised this is the 9th. Actually, it's really not the 9th best deck. This is actually tied for 8th with one other deck we'll get into right after this. This is tied for 8th ranked Bello Betty, Red Yellow Bello Betty, sitting at 12 points with a 1.39 share percentage of the current meta game, okay? If you guys can't tell or even notice on the screen, the last time this deck topped and the only time this deck topped was the 2nd of November of 2024, Regional Madison, Wisconsin, OP08.5. It ended up getting 13th place by a guy named Adam Murray. Never even heard of him, doesn't matter. He put on for the YGOD, he put it on for the gang. So let's go ahead and get straight into this deck list that he ended up piloting, okay? So this is the current deck list of Bello Betty, sitting at $28.31. Oh shit, bro, you cannot make this shit up. You can't make it up. You cannot make this shit up. $28.31 for this damn deck. Actually just insane. Let me just take a little glance at this deck. We got Bello Betty, the leader, and just to be honest with you guys, this is just a spam rush type of deck. The main thing about this deck is a lot of people don't know how to play against this deck. I mean, there's been some times where I even see people play against this deck and they just let all of Bello Betty's characters attack, not realizing that if this thing does attack and it does have 7,000 or more, this game would be blocked. It can't activate a blocker. People don't know that. People are underestimating the Charlotte Cracker just being able to attack twice if your life is lower. People really just don't know how to stop that or are not even ready for this. Also with this Karasu, a lot of people don't even know what this card does. The biggest thing about this deck is just really truly just the surprise factor. You're ending off games with Monkey D Dragon. You have some board removal with this Sabo. You have some rushing capabilities with this Luffy late game, just in case if they start building up a wall with a whole bunch of blockers. I mean, when we just take a really big deep dive into what is ran, this deck, it looks like it's optimized as best as it could possibly be. You have the raise max just being able to drop some cards for some board removal. And just to be honest with you guys, if this deck is already topping already, I could only imagine what you guys are going to do when OP09 ends up coming around and this deck actually gets more support with all the Revo cards coming out in OP09. Tied for 8th, Bello Betty, Red Yellow, YGOD, Yellow Ganga Die, YGOD. Shout out to all my delinquents. You already know how we getting down over here. Yellow taking over this bitch. So this is the 8th best deck of the format. Like I said earlier, this deck is tied with another deck as well for the 8th place rank. So let's go ahead and get straight into it. So the other deck that is actually tied for the 8th best deck of the format is Black Smoker, which is not really surprising if you're a really good pilot, and hopefully you don't see any other decks that, you know, Smoker gets countered by. I mean, you can really go far with this particular deck. Smoker sitting at 8th rank, tied with 8th with Bello Betty, 12 points with a 1.39% share value of the meta. We take a look on the screen. The last time we saw this deck topping was at the San Diego Regional, the 2nd November 2024 Regional San Diego by his man was Hot Dog. Terrible name. That was actually, you guys need to come with better names, bro. Hot Dog. So you know, 24th place. Let's go ahead and just take a look at the actual deck list here. Now this deck is now sitting at 274. So I'm gonna tell you this for all my brand new players: if you guys do plan on trying to play black, all of the black decks are probably going to be around $200, bro. 200, you know, probably around 300 depending on which black deck you play, just because black is the most dominant deck. It's also the most high in demand deck for, you know, color in the game, and a lot of the black cards are actually just broken in my opinion. So this is the leader. We have the Smoker, we have the 4 Ice Sages, just having some steady cost reduction. You can never go wrong with that. We do have the Rebecca, we have the Tashigi. This Tashigi right here is really good for some type of cost reduction as well. This other Tashigi that was added with the structure deck is the reason why this deck is now viable, just being able to bypass any KO protection, mainly Sabo, where, you know, when you bring out a Sabo as blanket protection for everybody on the field, this pretty much just fucks BY Luffy's bitch. Very bad matchup for BY Luffy when it comes to Smoker. We do have the Sengaku is right here, coming out of the brand new structure deck, just allowing you to trash things from your deck while also searching things with a draw as well. Also having this Brook, and this is one of the main reasons why this deck is so expensive. Brook alone, I think it's like around 30, I think it's like $30-40. So this is the reason why this deck is so expensive. When we actually take a look at everything else, we have the Jack, relatively cheap, but just having some steady board removal, and also one of the best boss monsters in any black deck, excluding Gecko Moria. Gecko Moria is actually very cheap now, since PRB did just release this version of Gecko Moria. You guys can see on the screen now, it's literally like $2, which is the reason why you can get 4 of them for $11. You have the one issue, just being able to rip cards from your opponent's hand, and like I said earlier, just having that Gecko Rebecca combo is just actually insane. Okay, so, you know, all in all, this is a really good deck. The main reason why this deck is so expensive is because of this Brook. If you guys plan on playing black, you guys are gonna have to dish out damn near half your deck just to 4 cards. So if you're really into that, or you just really like the black color, black is my second favorite color, then go ahead and do it, bro. I mean, I'm not gonna prevent you guys from playing what you like. If you like black, go ahead and play it. Black Smoker, very viable deck at the moment. And yeah, let's go ahead and get straight to the 7th best deck of the format, gang. So the 7th best deck of the OP08.5 format is Purple Luffy. Purple Luffy has been spinning the block ever since the structure decks did come out. Purple Luffy has literally had a huge power increase, which actually says numbers, because once OP09 comes around, this becomes like the 3rd or 4th best deck in the format, hands down. When we take a look at the screen, we have all these toppings, but before we even go over this, let's go ahead and read its, you know, percentage and everything. So this is the 7th best deck, Purple Luffy Ploofy, 22 points, 2.54% share value. So this deck is doing numbers. This deck is really good. I feel like you just need to be a skilled pilot at this point in time with this deck. Just a lot of the dom manipulation, you actually have to really know and understand the mechanics of this deck when it comes to playing any purple decks, but mainly this particular deck that we're talking about right now. The last topping list that we do have is from the regionals from Barcelona. We are going to click this and see what his deck list was like. So this deck is a whopping $120. This deck is actually not that expensive, and I'm telling you right now, if you guys do plan on playing Ploofy right now into OP09, I advise you to get every single purple card right now, because the last thing you want is that you know, this deck starts taking over OP09 and all these decks we're going over, it just shoots up in price dramatically. The main card that we're really going to be talking about is, let's see if he's actually running it. It's really Bon Clay. He's actually not even running the Bon Clay. The most expensive card in this deck is the Magellan's. He's actually not even running the Bon Clay. Wow. Okay, so this is actually more affordable. So if you guys cannot play or afford the Bon Clays in this Luffy deck, this is the deck for you. And this is the reason why it is $120, because if we did have the Bon Clays in this deck, it'll be $120 just for 4. The main gist of this deck is slowing down your opponent's Don, just now allowing them to get to, you know, the late game stages with 7, 8, 9 Don. And Magellan does just that. Magellan, a very, very shicey card, ran in every single Luffy deck at the moment. And like I said, you put this on field, you put 1 or 2 on the field, you pretty much might just win the game. He is playing the 4 Eustace Kid, one of the best purple blockers in the game. He is opting out for the 4 Sanji. This is the second most expensive card in the deck, sitting at $27 for 4 copies of this Sanji. Very good. Just being able to clean up games with this Kaido is unmatched. Just allowing you to have some type of pressure with this rush. But the big thing that's really used in this deck is this Charlotte Linen. He's opting out for 2. I usually like to tell all my purple players, you probably might want to run this at like 3 minimum, just because you can always have a way to replenish your life, just so you can keep on abusing your broken ass leader ability every single turn. So 2 is good. He probably didn't play 3 because he probably thought if he played 3 he'd probably be bricking. So 2 to 3 is really good depending on where you're comfortable with. But me personally, I will run 3. He won 2, but he topped, so you guys could try out both, you know, ratios if you would like. He's playing the reset Luffy, only 1 reset Luffy. Very, very shicey, very, very shicey. He is also running this Queen, and this Queen did get a reprint in PRB, so that's another reason why this card is $2. It used to be like 10, 11 per copy. Now it's only $2 because of the reprint. I mean, look, PRB did this deck wonders by dropping the price down for a majority of this deck, and also being able to have some type of comboing with these 2 cards right here, with the page 1 and also the Utai as well. So this is a very, very good deck. If you guys do plan on playing Luffy in the future, you might as well pick up all these cards now. The only card that this guy's not running that you guys will probably need to run in OP09 is Bon Clay. And Bon Clay, just to rip, just the most default version of Bon Clay. You guys see it on the screen. It's sitting at like damn near like $45, $50 right now. So just take that with a grain of salt. This is the 7th best deck of the current meta at the moment. So yeah, let's go ahead and get straight into the 6th best deck of the format, gang. Let's get it. So for the 6th best deck of the format, has to be the most boringest deck you'll ever see. I'm surprised my computer just didn't go into sleep mode already just by loading up this page. We're not going over this deck this much. We're just going to read all the rankings and placements of where's Nami sitting. Nami is the 6th best deck of the format, sitting at 23 points over 2.66% share value of the current meta. Last time this deck did top was at the Borsalia Regional, 13th place, and after that was the Online Regional, 9th place. I'm gonna keep it stack a few. We don't cover Nami over here. I'll show you guys what they were running. Okay, that was pretty much the deck. I hope you guys enjoyed the deck breakdown of how this deck works and what's actually essential to play this deck. The biggest thing and selling point of this deck is that if you want people mad at you while you're playing One Piece to the point where they want to stand up and slap the living shit at you, this deck is for you. Or if you're on a budget, and this is the only reason why I'm still covering this deck. If you're on a budget, times is hard right now. If you're on a budget, this fucking deck is $47. Still not cheaper than Bello Betty. But if you guys do want to play a really, really good meta deck at a low price, this deck is literally $47. That's all I'm talking about for Nami. You're lucky I talked this much about this stupid ass deck, this slow ass deck, this find an excuse on why you're playing this deck and everybody hates it ass deck. Nobody wants to play against this deck. Boring ass deck, whack ass deck. I could literally be here all day long, but I'm not gonna waste any more time. Let's go ahead and get straight into the 5th best deck of the format, gang. Let's get it. So the 5th best deck of the current OP08.5 format is Yellow Andell, which is actually surprising with so many black decks running rampant. I'm surprised Andell's even doing this well, but we are sitting at the 5th place rank Yellow Andell with 102 points, which is a huge increase compared to the last decks we covered, where it was like 23 points, 22 points, 12 and 8 points. It actually shoots up to 102 points with an 11.78 share percentage. Andell's putting in the work, and I'm actually very, very surprised. But hey, you guys already know how we getting down. YGOD, yellow gang gotta die. YGOD. Shout out to all my delinquents and all the motherfuckers that hopped off the porch, gang. And now, 5th best ranking deck of the current meta. When we actually take a look here real quick, this is the first time we actually seen all these cards. So if you guys ever go into the site, this just shows you how often these cards really are ran in the deck. You usually only see stuff like this if the nails don't really change up the deck. You get what I'm saying? If the decks don't really change up with, you know, what exactly they're running, you'll start seeing things like this on the screen, okay? But when we actually look at the latest results with this deck topping, the most latest results happened at the regional in Madison, Wisconsin, 2nd November 2024. There was 2 in the top 16. There's one that was 3rd place and one that was 10th place. So we're gonna go over this one that was 3rd place, okay? And I'm gonna tell you this right now, Andell's gotten dramatically cheaper just because of PRB. If you guys are wondering why, it's not because of the leader, it's not because of Flampy, even though Flampy just for 4 of them at the lowest rarity is $18, which is kind of crazy. But it's really is this Katakuri. This Katakuri got a reprint. Before, just for 1 Katakuri, it was $40. Now you can get 4 Katakuri for $44. So if you guys been waiting to play yellow, just because this card alone will just cost too much, this is your time to play this deck. This has actually been the cheapest this deck has ever been in its existence, just because Katakuri did just get a reprint. But when we actually take a look at this deck, we are playing the 4 Flampy, pretty much stopping you from getting starved and also allowing you to have some type of hand advantage. You have the old Nami for some board removal, you have the blocker for the black matchup, you have the most broken, you know, 2K in the game, in my opinion. You have a very, very correct 2K in Frankie, allowing you to just drop the 2K, or if you have 2 or 1 or 0 life, once this thing comes out of life, you get to summon this, plus a draw Shiroshi for hand shuffling. You have this Monkey D. Luffy for board removal. This is for board removal. This is the Andell. He is opting to only play 1. Most of these Andell type of decks that do play this usually opt out for 2, just because you aren't really searching this card. You don't have a searcher to find this card. And 1, you're probably rarely ever going to see this card, but he is opting out for the 1, and he did end up getting 3rd place. Me personally, I'll always try to run 2, but you know, 1, 2, it's all about your flavor. You get what I'm saying? It's all about your flavor. If you like 1, play 1. If you like 2, play 2. 4 Katakuri staple, 4 Yamato for some board removal with some life reprints, very, very shice. And also the 4 Portia D Ace is the last most expensive. This is the most expensive card in the whole entire deck now, just for 4 of them. And I'm gonna tell you something about this card too. Once we start leaving OP08, this card's going to start shooting up, because I don't see this card getting reprinted for quite a long time. So if you guys do not have your aces at this moment, and you guys plan on playing yellow into OP010, OP11, especially with OP11 being whole cake, where yellow gets a whole bunch of crazy shit, I advise you guys to pick up this card right now, because I have no clue when this card, I feel like this card is probably not going to get reprinted probably for like another year, gang. So this is the cheapest this card's ever going to be. It's going to be a staple in every single yellow deck, and with, you know, OP010 on the horizon, with all the new yellow support with the kid and also the law, you guys are probably going to need this card sooner rather than later. And now, 5th best deck of the format, cheapest it's ever been as well. Shout out to all my gang members playing this. And yeah, let's go ahead and get straight to the 4th best deck of the format, gang. Let's get it. So the 4th best deck of the format has to be Green Bonnie. You see her on the screen. I've always told you guys, Bonnie's always going to be a top 5 deck, maybe into OP10. OP10, we do get the yellow-green laws, so I don't know if this is going to replace Bonnie, but Bonnie as a whole will always be a top 5 deck in my opinion. Fact, not an opinion. Bonnie sitting at 4th place. Green Bonnie with 113 points with a 13.05% share percentage of the current game state, meta state, whatever you guys want to call it. We actually take a look on the screen. These are all the most common used cards. It's funny when we actually look at all these cards because now everybody's on the carrot. I've been telling y'all motherfuckers for a hot minute that if you aren't playing 4 carrot in the Bonnie deck, you're playing it wrong. I remember some motherfuckers were saying it was trash. Then motherfuckers tried to go up to 1 or 2, and now everybody's playing at 4. I'm telling you right now, carrot, one of the most shiciest cards in this deck, fact, not opinion. When we keep on scrolling down, the latest results happened at the regional of Barcelona, and then the last regional after that was the regional Madison, Wisconsin. Let's look at this one right here, since this was the most recent regional that did happen, coming in at 3rd place and also 7th place, so having some very good tournament showings. And then also with the regional in Madison, it got 1st place and 7th place, so Bonnie's actually putting in work, gang. Let's go ahead and look at let's look at the 1st place. Let's look at the 1st place list right here. So this is the 1st place list that happened, I think, a week before the Barcelona regional we just saw. But when we just take a look at the list, we have the jewelry Bonnie, you have the event. The thing that really stands out to me, like I said earlier, was the 4 carat, just being able to always activate this effect without any Don usage. Freezing any 7-cost allure pretty much puts a lot of decks in shambles, pretty much allowing you to slow down the game state, allowing you to play how you want to play. And that's the biggest thing about Bonnie. If you guys do want to play Bonnie, it's not about how fast you can kill the opponent. It's about slowing down the game state to play how you want to play the game. Okay, that's pretty much how this deck works. Another card that you guys really need to look out for, I know you guys have been glued to it since we just clicked this whole entire Bonnie list, is this Cavendish. For 4 Cavendish, you need $73. Now, I'm gonna tell you this right now about Cavendish. No one's talking about Cavendish. Green, yellow, law, and OP10 is coming out in 2 to 3 weeks in OP09. In that particular deck for yellow, green, law, they're going to use 4 Cavendish because it is a supernova. If that law deck does anything, and I mean anything in OP10, that shit can top once. This card that you guys see on the screen right now, this Cavendish, will shoot up to $40, $50 per copy. This will be the next category. So I'm telling you guys right now, if you guys do plan on trying to play green, whether it will be right now, OP09, or even OP10, if you guys do not pick up this Cavendish right now, this card will be $40 a pop. So go ahead and pick up this card right now if you guys plan on playing any type of green variation of a deck in the future, because when you guys do play any green decks, this is one of the most staple green cards you're going to be using in any deck, just like this Hody Jones. This Hody Jones literally closes out any game's late game. That's the reason why he's running 4. This is the best blocker in the game. Just being able to just drop this onto the board, and this thing really literally just can't get removed without them burning resources out their hand is really base. Another card that really just shuts down the opponent is this 8-drop Eustace Kid. This card alone just stops Dofi, Blue Dofi in its tracks, and Blue Dofi is a top, literally one of the best decks in the game, and I also think it's probably the most popular deck in the meta right now. So this card alone just literally just shits on Blue Dofi. He is also playing the 1 shakes for some board removal. This is more so attack. You guys can really replace this for whatever you want, but he is going out for the 1 shakes. He is also bird caging, so you guys see in the screen he actually isn't even playing a Zoro at all in this particular deck, and that's just because Zoro just can get popped easily by Lucci and BY Luffy, and even Smoker as well. So that's the reason why they are opting, a lot of Bonnie players are just removing Zoro and just using this 4-drop Dofi, just being able to freeze 3 characters with a just any 3 characters on the field, including your leader. When we take a look at the rest of the cards in this deck, everything looks the same. You have some blanket protection with this Rosonte. You have the blocker with Beige, you have the Searcher, you have the Searcher, you have the Searcher. Yeah, that's pretty much the deck. The whole gist of this deck is really just try to bring this card out. You remove this card and you remove a Doflamingo, more 9 times out of 10 you're pretty much going to win the game. Fact, not an opinion. Bonnie, the 4th best deck of the format. Can't go wrong with Bonnie. I feel like it's always going to be a top 5 deck until we see another green deck that replaces this deck in the meta. Okay, that's all I got for Bonnie. Let's go ahead and get straight into the 3rd best deck of the format. So we are now going to start getting into the real meta defining decks of the format right now, and you guys should probably already know what it is. It ain't fucking Andell, it ain't Zoro, it ain't Smoker, it ain't no bullshit the sim team got. We are actually talking about the real top 10 decks in this video, if you guys couldn't tell already. And the third best deck when it comes to showings and stats is BY Luffy. This is my main personal deck. I've gone over this deck so much on the channel, and yeah, we're sitting at third place, BY Luffy, 164 points, sitting at an 18.94% share percentage of the current game state. When you take a look at the most recent toppings, I mean, like you guys see, this deck is just topping everywhere. I mean, it's topped in Borsalino, there's 4 of them. They topped in Madison, Wisconsin, there's 3 of them. It's got 11th place at a Treasure Cup. November 2nd, San Diego, there's fucking, well, there's like 4 of them, there's like 8 of them. This deck is just really shiesty. Let's just take a look at the Nikki Goldman's deck. Okay, so let's just take at this, since this is the first place, and this deck is actually $182. Okay, I'm telling you, ever since PRB just got released, a lot of these decks are now more affordable. When we just take a look at this, okay, we have the Monkey D. Luffy. He is also running the 4-3 brothers. I'm not really truly a big fan of the 4, because late game, after you see all your pieces, there's really no need to see any of your pieces at all in your trash or in your hand, because after a while this just starts becoming a brick. And late game, if you use this late game, you can start bottom decking all your geckos and also your 2Ks, which could cost you the game late game, especially when it comes to playing against Dofi. 2 Ice Ages for board removal. He is also running the 2 finger pistols. This is a flex spot. You guys can really play whatever you want, but when we just take a look at the majority of this list, everything is actually just looking the same. Yeah, everything looks the same. The only thing that's probably different is this Sabo right here. Like I said, this is a flex spot right here. This 2 Sabo is a flex spot, this extra 2 is a flex spot, and this finger gun spec is a flex spot. So you could really have 6 flex spots. Another thing I've noticed too is that now everybody's been running the 2 Kuzans, like I've been preaching for the past 2 months. Running 4 Kuzan was always trash in my opinion. He opted out to run 2, and this is also a first place list, fact not an opinion. When we look at everything else looks the same. I know a lot of people end up asking me what is my personal list for this BY Luffy, and you guys are about to see it on the screen right now. Give me 1 second. So this is my personal list. I know a lot of people ask me what's my current updated list. This is my current updated BY Luffy list. It pretty much looks just like the list you guys just saw from the first place winning deck from that recent tournament in San Diego. The only difference is that instead of running those 6 flex spots with the Sabo, the finger pistol, and the extra 2 3 brothers bond, I took all that out and I ended up just re-adding this ace, these 2 aces. I feel like in BY Luffy, especially in OP09, you guys really need to be running this ace, just because late game you just need to apply pressure. A lot of decks get faster, and I just like being aggressive. In any yellow deck, I always run this ace. I always like running the ace, okay? Every yellow deck, I always run the yellow ace, and this is no special occasion either. This is just normal for me. I always run these 2 aces just to clean out games and applying pressure early in the game with Hiyori. If I like. The only other difference as well in my personal list is this Ivankov. The main reason why I'm using this card is just for the combo potential, okay? And a lot of my how to beat videos that you will be seeing in the future, I'm comboing off like crazy with Ivankov, especially if I can end up having this on field with some type of blanket protection, probably a turn or 2 later. This card's actually really shiesty in my opinion. But if I had just have to keep it a stack of you guys, this is all preference. This is my preference. I like being aggressive early, mid, and late game, and while also having a lot of combo potential in this deck, and that's what Ivankov does. It's pretty much a Hiyori, but also being a blocker, and everything else is pretty much the same. This is my updated list. This is the list I'm probably going to be playing probably up until, you know, OP10, to be honest with you guys. I don't really see myself changing this list at all ever for like the next 3 or 4 months. If you guys do want to see what I'm playing, this will be the main list I will be playing probably until OP10. BY Luffy, 3rd best deck of the format. Let's go ahead and get straight into the 2nd best deck of the format, gang. Let's get it. So the 2nd best deck of the format, surprisingly, is Blue Doflamingo. There's a huge skill gap on this deck, and the numbers show, and that's the reason why it's the 2nd best deck of the format. Blue Doflamingo ranking in at the second place with 197 points, sitting at a 22.75% share value of the current game state. It should be harder, but like I said earlier, a lot of people just don't know how to play this deck yet. I would think probably like around OP09, once you get closer to OP09, Blue Doflamingo is going to just start taking off and being the #1 deck, just like how it is currently in OP09. But so now let's go ahead and take a peep at the results, and look at the results, y'all. Look at all these toppings. And this is just a couple weeks with the structured decks legal. A lot of people aren't really even that good with this deck. And look what it's doing. Second place, November 2nd. November 2nd, look at all these toppings. November 2nd, online, all these toppings. November 2nd, all these toppings. I mean, there's so many more. If we was to click this, there's so many more topping decks. This deck is going to end up being the best deck in the format once more people start understanding the concept of this particular deck. Okay, let's go ahead and just look at Jackson Hung's deck. He ended up getting first place, and this deck is now sitting at $112. Look, one of the best decks in the format is underneath $150. You guys can't beat this. I'm not going to really spend too much time on this deck. If you guys really want to understand how to play this deck, or even how to beat this deck, card at the top, thumbnail on the screen. I have a whole video explaining what this deck does, but if you guys just want a quick nutshell of what this deck does, it's pretty much swarm the board with this Jinbei, Trafalgar Law, and also where's the Gecko Moria at? The Gecko Moria as well. Okay, just bringing things out the trash, cheating things out on the field while also removing something on your opponent's field, and also just really abusing the 6K beaters such as the Edward Weevil and also the Boa Hancock right here. The thing I've been noticing about this deck as well is that some people have been taking in the 10-drop Kaido. I don't see this in this list, but another card that I see a lot of people taking is this Jozu. This Jozu just being able to return up to one character with a cost 6 or less to the owner's hand. This has been a very, very shiesty tech. A lot of people's been on it at the beginning of the meta of OP08.5. A lot of people weren't even using this, but now they've seen the potential of this card. This card is really just strong against BY Luffy. That's one of the main reasons why you play this deck, or this card, I'm sorry, is just for the BY Luffy, because everything in BY Luffy is a 5 or less unless you're dropping the Gecko Moria. This Teach has been seeing a lot of people trying to wean off this Teach. I feel like this Teach always needs to be ran at 2 to 3. And yeah, when we just look at everything else in this deck, oh yeah, and there's 3 Charlotte Puddings. These 3 Charlotte Puddings is pretty much just cripples everything. Every deck that you play against, everybody always has to play around Pudding. Pudding's one of the most cracked cards in the game. This is blue versions of Gecko Moria. So if you guys bitch about Gecko Moria, this is literally blue's version of Gecko Moria, and that is the Charlotte Pudding. Only thing about this card is it's only a 4 cost, so a lot of times how they end up playing this card late game, they usually drop the Pudding, reset your hand, they use the Perfume Fumer, attack for game. He is actually only running 1 Perfume Fumer as well. One card I do not see is, oh, he is actually running the 10-drop Kaido right here. The only card that I do not see is he's not running any board removal like that. No red rocks, no gravity blades, and he got first. Crazy. Only tech card I really see him running is this Doflamingo right here. Return up to 1 character will cost 7 or less to the owner's hand. So, you know, maybe he just replaced this with you know, red rock, just because, you know, you can return something with 7 or less, and also establishing a big body on the board. So, you know, very shiesty from my man Jackson. Very, very shiesty, different type of list, but this Kaido is definitely coming in clutch. I feel like this deck will always be running at least 1 or 2 of these from now on. Okay, so yeah, really big fan of this list. Doflamingo not going anywhere, sitting at $112, second ranked deck in the current meta. So let's go into the best deck of the format, and if you guys don't know what it is already, we're not going to spend too long on it because I'm just tired of covering it. Okay, let's go ahead and get straight into it. So the best deck of the format is none other than Rob Lucci, Black Rob Lucci. So since I've been covering this deck so much, y'all, and all the decks look almost so cookie cutter and the same, we're almost probably not even gonna cover this deck like this. But Rob Lucci sitting at the #1 ranked best deck of the format. This is the BDIF of the format, fact not an opinion. Black Lucci sitting at 213 points, 24.60% share percentage. So 25% of the decks in the meta will be Rob Lucci. And we actually just take a look at the tournament results. You see that Rob Lucci is just spinning a block of fuck out everybody's bitch right now. Fact, not opinion. I mean, deadass, this is like almost unfair. I'm getting tired of playing against this deck. Well, not really, since I'm a BY Luffy player, but this deck has just been so good. Black better not get no support for like the next 3 sets. Okay, so Rob Lucci, this is the deck. If you guys do want to copy it, here it is right here. I'm not going over any of these cards. If you guys do want to see a deck breakdown or explanation of this deck, just go on one of my other meta reports. I talk about it, but I'm just not talking about it because I'm always talking about this deck. So yeah, this is the top 10 decks of the OP08.5 meta. We are no longer doing the sim bullshit because we're not that desperate for views. We're actually going to do some real shit that requires the data. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. I literally thought of this out of nowhere. There's nothing like this on YouTube. This is the only video that's on YouTube back behind data, stats, regional results when it comes to the top 10 best decks of the current format. Fact, not opinion. So let me know below if you guys like this new style of meta reports. I'm gonna start doing these every single week, since every single week we do have a tournament. So I'm gonna just keep on updating you periodically, but just let me know, okay? I took a lot of time into making this and a lot of thought went behind this. So let me know below if you guys like this style of you know, top 10 type of decks every single week. This is volume 1. Volume 2 is going to be coming out next week. As you guys can see on the screen right now, next week or this upcoming week, we do have a lot of upcoming online regionals. So, you know, as soon as those are done and the page is updated, we can go ahead and, you know, do another one of these bad boys. Okay, but yeah, y'all, that's all I got. Let me know below what you guys think of this style of, you know, top 10 type of decks. And yeah, that's all I got. But look, before I go, if you was feeling the vibes, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. It out.